Hi everyone, welcome back. And today we're going to talk about the Sarah Boone case because the trial is coming up um, in a couple of weeks. And this case happened in 2020. And Sarah Boone was basically there's a couple out in Florida, a living together couple. Both have kids from separate relationships, but a constant history of fights and arguments, but the accusation is after a night of alleged, she claims, fun, drinking games. He got into a suitcase during the game, and she zipped him up and forgot that he was in the suitcase and went to bed and came back a couple of hours later, and he died. So we're going to get into the details of that. We're going to look at a couple of we're going to look at the footage, and we're also going to look at how she was caught, with her own cell phone, which is crazy. And she basically handed the police the evidence, and we're going to listen to that audio. But what I'm going to touch on is what no one else is talking about. I'm going to touch on later on. I'm going to loop it around, and I think there's a key piece of information that's going to crack this thing wide open in terms of premeditation and in addition to motive. The motive was quite obviously in terms of revenge and all of that, but in terms of premeditation, So yeah, there's some pics of them, Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres. So that's it. That's her. The case was 2020, just before COVID, I think. And trial was postponed. She's been in ever since, under lockdown. And basically, it's scheduled to begin in July 24th. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to start at the beginning, when she was arrested, because she'd called when the police arrived at their apartment, and in response to her 911 call. Okay, so we're going to see quite a lot of things here. Yeah, there you go.
What's going on? I just got here, so fill me in.
No problem. Like, he and I were putting a puzzle together. We've been doing some artwork together.
You are putting a puzzle together?
Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there.
Okay.
We've been doing art, trying to take the stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we're drinking. We had a bottle of wine last night.
Okay. Fine.
So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right?
Okay.
So he gets in the suitcase, okay?
Who is this guy?
That's my ex-husband, my former husband.
How did he lives here with you guys?
No, I called him over here.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So then he came over here.
Here, let's talk in private, okay?
I called you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I tried giving him CPR. The problem is I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
When did you do CPR?
This morning, when I found him.
Before you called?
Yes!
It's 1 o'clock right now.
I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. And that's when I found him, and I took him out. I tried doing CPR, and then I called him, and then I called you guys.
Did he get here?
If you watch the rest of the video, this police lady is so awesome. The on the scene police officer that was sent out, this African American woman, completely handled it brilliantly. She should be sent out for all these things. Not everyone is as amazing as her. Oh, sorry, 1 second.
Before the fire department got here?
Who?
Your husband? Or
Yes.
your ex-husband?
Yes.
Okay. Where did he live at?
Right down the street.
Okay. So you were playing and who zipped him up in?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what
I
happened.
fell asleep, so I don't know if he suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or
What
what.
kind of medical conditions does he have?
None that I know of.
Nothing that you know of.
None
You
that I
didn't take
know
any
of.
medicine
No.
last night?
No.
No medicine.
All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay, so it's not really true, because later on what the police find out is that she had just there were receipts found for 2 bottles of wine the previous day. And she insists during the interrogation that no, she didn't have 2 bottles, they only had 1 bottle of wine. And the police kept saying, well, we've got the receipts for 2 bottles of wine. In any case, so what she's alleging is that they're really in a good space. They have a history, documented history of fighting with each other. 2018, an incident happened. They were both charged. They were both documented. They didn't want to move forward with the charges, file charges against each other, but they both were recorded with injuries, and the family's been quite open. Her ex-husband, the neighbors. So it's been a history of violence between them. Okay, but now what she alleges is that they were in a good space. They were partying up a storm, having a good evening. They were drinking a bottle of wine, laughing, deciding to go back into the house and to paint and to do a puzzle. So she didn't want to do that anymore, and they decided to go play hide and seek. So her concept of hide and seek is very different from the rest of ours, where he willingly gets into a suitcase, and that's when she claims she went upstairs to do something else, and she came back down to look for him, and he didn't go and look for her upstairs in this hide and seek game, but he was in a suitcase. So it's just it's obviously not making sense. So she comes back down a couple of hours later. She goes upstairs, falls asleep, comes back down, and finds him dead in the suitcase. Okay, so I want to basically take you guys to this interrogation. So she hands her phone over willingly to the detectives, and she doesn't realize that there are 2 recordings on there, and one of them I'm going to play for you. Okay, there are 2 recordings on there. So the detectives take her through this whole interrogation, which she completely denies. There was no malicious intent on her part. She uses the word corpus mentis all the time, denies any wrongdoing. They were in a good space. There's no bruises on her. He had his 2 fingers out so he could get out, and they were laughing and joking the whole time. So she's completely denying any of this, not knowing that they've got the recordings on her phone. 2 video recordings that she did after she had put him in the suitcase, and while he was begging for her to let him out.
That's when you choke me. So. I don't want to watch it, please. Okay.
Last time we talked to you, you had said that you put him in the suitcase, he had 2 fingers hanging out. And
I flipped him over. I flipped him over, and that's where it was.
There's 2 different videos and a still picture where, it shows you flipping him in different positions, and him saying that he can't breathe, and you saying fuck you.
So this is upside down. So in order for him to have gotten into it,
it was flipped up.
Right. It was flipped up normal.
Yes.
Like as if you're packing something. So this is upside down.
Guys, this is killing me right now.
So this image is upside down, and then this small video that occurred 11 minutes later, it's flipped over the other way, closer to your dining room table.
Okay.
Now he's obviously still in there. So he didn't. How did it go from the back to the front?
I flipped it.
Okay.
My plan was not to go upstairs and go to sleep.
This is ridiculous.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
But not intentional, though.
No, you told me you went upstairs because
What?
you were
Stop
getting
here.
ready for bed.
Stopped here.
Okay, but
Where's here?
show me where you can see any fingers coming out, because there's the end.
And his head's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So going like this, rather than going all the way up, it's like this.
But why is he saying I can't breathe, and why is he pushing on it as if he can't get out?
And it doesn't show a hole.
There's no hole. There's no fingers. I don't see his fingers. There's no hole.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, I don't know, what you want me to tell you.
I'm just showing you. I'm just telling you what we see and what we've heard from the other video.
I understand.
He's begging for you to let him out. You sound you're laughing in the beginning, and then in the end it sounds kind of like a...
No, it's not malicious.
Well, saying fuck you,
It's not malicious.
then what is that?
What does fuck you mean to you?
Well,
Like if I were to tell my
like he
partner...
does. Like, I get told everything but a white woman, so
Okay.
my intention was not to leave him in there. Please understand that. My intention was not to leave him in there.
But you went upstairs thinking that he could get himself
Yes.
out, but the video shows
That's
at
what I
no
told
point
you.
can I see his fingers. And
He'll be
it
up here
looks
any
like-
minute.
And then 30 minutes later, he didn't show.
And he's telling you
And I
he
didn't
can't
wake
breathe.
up.
Do you
He's
think
not able
he's
to get
joking?
out.
You told me he was laughing, and
We were
the
before.
video, there's no
When we
laughing.
first got in there, both of us were.
So how long was he in there for? Like, this video is at 11:12 when it starts, so was he in there for like a long time prior to you recording this?
No. No.
So it went
Denies
from
it.
funny to no longer funny,
But
and
I
you're
didn't,
the only one laughing.
But I didn't think that he was, like, panicky. Like,
So pushing up on a suitcase saying, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah,
I can't
I
breathe.
can't breathe.
George has done that in the past before, too, where it's just like he thinks that he's woe is me kind of thing, where it's like, I don't
Well, he's
think-
never been locked in a suitcase. That's
No.
where he couldn't get out. So
It's kind of, I thought it was
And
the
you know
boy
the oxygen
crawling
is
wolf,
something.
crying wolf kind of thing.
okay.
And again, my plan,
This is crazy. I mean, she didn't want to watch the video. So at the beginning of this clip I just showed you, she kept saying, I'm not gonna manage. I can't handle this. I need to, she tried to shut it down. She was like, how long is this video going to be? How long is this video going to be that you're going to show me? And now you can hear her. She's like, oh, he's always crying, woe is me. And if you investigate it further, she kind of was saying, okay, well, he's always having his bike, he's always falling in terms of the bruises that they found on him, blunt force trauma, injuries. She was like, no, well, he's always riding into things on his bicycle, I think, So yeah, that's what it is, and she's actually in shock that that they've got this video. So another thing I just wanted to point out that I didn't mention earlier was that we'll get to it in another clip. Let me just show you now. I want to actually play you the video of there were two videos. Okay, this is the second video, and you have to hear this man. I mean, it's terrible, Listen to him. He's in the suitcase, and she's sitting and she's videoing the suitcase, and she's closed him in, So listen to this.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Motive.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Cruelty.
Stupid.
At the trial, cruelty.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Sarah. I can't fucking breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
She's laughing.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Real ransom. Might want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real ransom.
Sarah. Sarah,
Suitcase is moving.
I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah! I
Fuck
can't
you!
fucking breathe, Sarah!
Yeah. You should probably shut the fuck up.
Sarah!
That's just insane. I mean, it's just crazy, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get to the science, because I think the science is going to be quite a lot of it, you know, the medical science and the medical record. But I'll touch on this shortly. You know, I'll explain about asphyxiation, because that suitcase moving like that, you know, him trying to raise his voice, all of those things. When you and I look at the video, it seems easy, you know, but given what I'm about to show you, you'll see that it's not now, but in a few minutes, you will see that those things took a lot of effort, torture, for him to even get those words out and raise his voice and move around like that in a confined space, medically speaking, forensically, you know. But they also, now I just want to touch on, they tried to interview his family. There was a clip that was done interviewing his family, and it's quite sad, you know, because they've lost someone. It doesn't matter about the history of the fighting and all of that, you know. You could have just left him. You could have left him. Why didn't you leave him if he was so horrific? And he cheated on you, and he did all those things. You know, he beat you up, allegedly cheated on you. Then leave him. No one's forcing you to be with him. And that's a question that people like us who don't commit murder have with people that commit murder. If you don't like it, leave, you know. So this family has lost a brother. You know, there's a number of brothers in the Torres family, and a sister, I think, one sister. And the kids have lost their dad, you know. And imagine they have got to watch that video online. I can't imagine anything worse with my family, with my kid. That's horrific. So
Been choking me.
Yeah.
Did you ask him anything about that?
No, because the thing with them, they would fight and they would hit each other. Because there was times he came here and she had hit him with a phone and he had a black eye. So it was like...
Did you witness that?
I didn't get to see it, but
Okay.
he told me
you.
so.
Okay.
So
you guys know that there's domestic between the two?
Between them, and I told him, get out of there, get out of there. I would tell him, leave. And what's crazy is that he would leave, come here, and she would call and tell him to come back, and she would come and get him. So she had the car, he didn't have a car.
Right.
So
You said that he sounded calm.
he was calm.
So yeah, he this kind of like adds a different layer to the whole thing, because in their relationship she looked like she was the from what the family is saying, and no one's contradicting it, you know, that he used her phone. So he didn't even have a phone, you know. He didn't have a car. He was dependent on her for a car. So she would control the communication, or at least through her phone, you know. And he was dependent on her, which is not a good thing to be, especially given a pressurized situation like this, you know, fueled with alcohol and abuse and violence, you know. So let's just hear what else the brother has to say.
Relax. Like he would, I can tell, because my brother's been drinking for a long time. We tried to get him help before.
Right.
And I can tell when he was like really drunk, and he wasn't that drunk that night.
He wasn't.
So when you're describing him as calm, that's an indication that he hadn't been drinking that much.
That he wasn't that drunk. No.
Okay.
And the reason why we can take the brother seriously is because he was very open in this interview about Yeah, no, he saw bruises on her too. His brother had hit her as well. You know, they didn't deny it. They didn't sound like that kind of family. They sound, by all accounts from my research, they sound like a lovely, amazing family. They're not. It's very difficult to even find any media about them, anything about them in my research. You know, so and obviously if they wanted to be in front of the media, that's their right as well. It's just the kind of family that they sound like. You know, so I want to actually go to this other one. Hopefully I can find it. Let's just check it out. What is this? 819. Hold on a second. So I think hopefully this is the clip. But this is where she allegedly pushes the dad, the elderly dad.
Like everybody knew it.
Right.
Like they used to come here and fight and stuff.
Okay.
And my mom wouldn't like it and tell them to go.
Right.
And I know one day she came, it's been like maybe like 2 months. My dad, because she always tried to hug everybody. Everybody didn't want to be hugging like that. And she pushed my dad, and my dad fell.
Yeah.
So she was known to be crazy, and he was too, you know. So she pushes the dad. She wants to like go over there and be over the top and hug everybody, and you know, it's like too much for them. And you know, the kids, it's a lot of kids, and it sounds like the dad's elderly, and you know, she pushes him, you know. And there's another incident where someone is peeing, you know, on the sidewalk, and she's trying to start a fight with them, you know. Another incident where she tries to run him or someone else over. You know, the details are a bit unclear. But, and I mean, he's no picnic either, you know, so he's also abusive towards her. And I'm not sure if it's other people as well, you know. That doesn't mean he deserved what he got, though, you know, so we need to separate the two. And then there's also points out to the history of violence. Just one more clip. Where am I? 1028, where she basically goes to the family, to the brothers. There's a number of brothers, to ask them for help, you know. And the reason I'm playing this clip is because, sorry, just so you know, that this picture is actually the ex-husband on the scene of the crime, the day it happened in 2020. Where he was actually coming. This got nothing to do with the clip. This is a background picture, but that's actually the ex-husband. And the ex-husband. On a side note, he also was there because she was supposed to get the kid on the day, and she didn't rock up, and he came to find out what was wrong, and he responded to a call, and that's the reason for the picture, you know. And the ex-husband as well says that look, they were always fighting, and I think he was in jail. Jorge, I hope I'm saying it right. Sorry, Torres. I think he was in jail for domestic violence or something. Although I'm not sure about that point. But that's what the ex-husband says. Anyway, back to this point. The reason why I'm playing this clip about the brothers fighting is because they're going to claim at trial. The defense lawyers are most likely going to argue battered partner syndrome, you know, and there's a number of reports that can testify to that. So that's going to be the defense side, and obviously all of these things are going to play into that.
Torres. They had got into it because Sarah had came and said that George had beat her.
When he says they had gotten into it, he's talking about his brother Moses and Jorge. Sarah had gone to Moses, the brother, and said, look, this is what he's doing. He's beating me up. And Moses obviously was upset and got into it with Jorge, and they had a bust up.
And then they got into it, but I wasn't there that day. Moses he can tell you about that.
But George did go to the hospital?
George went. George was in the hospital.
George was in the hospital from a fight with his brother. So it's just another angle that the defense is going to use, you know, to argue, I'm sure, battered wife syndrome, battered partner syndrome. Okay, so that's the story so far. And I mean, it's really sad because this is just like an article from I had translated, and his sister, his sister saying, Victoria, sadly, he loved that woman, and that love killed him, So the family is just devastated. What can we possibly say? It's just horrific. What I want to talk about now is so this is what he died from. He died from positional asphyxia. Okay. Now this asphyxia thing is a story, right? It's normally related to young kids, and then adults die from it too. I'm not going to show you the images because they're quite horrific. But asphyxia basically is just that, the mechanism of the lungs are not able to work. The chest wall, the diaphragm, the way the body is positioned causes this asphyxia, right? And you must remember now, if a person falls, I'll just quickly show you some. Sorry, I don't want to be too horrific about it. But people have been falling, and all kinds of, look at the different positions they're in, right? But now you must remember that Jorge Torres is now trapped in a suitcase. He can't even move. He's inebriated. We don't know how she got him into that suitcase or how he went willingly. She must have, coerced him or something. We don't know. But he's in that confined space. Now what happens is, so there's two things here. There's positional asphyxia, and I just want to throw in another one into the mix, which is compression asphyxia. Okay, so compression is kind of like, I'm not going to obviously give the scientific definition of that, but basically, if she had to sit on him, because remember, with the suitcase story, where's the suitcase? But with the suitcase, we don't know. We only have her version of what happened. The science is going to now, play itself out, the medical science, the forensic science, in a trial, in July. So it could have been positional asphyxia as well as compounded or separate to that, or in addition to that, or in place of that. It could be this compressional asphyxia, where you can imagine if she had to sit on him, and then his lungs are contracted even further, and then she gets up. I'm just guessing a possible scenario, right? And then she's to get up, and he's able to now breathe, and then she sits on him again, and then he can't breathe, and then she gets up, and she does this repeatedly. If she did that, then that's a whole other level of torture. That's a whole other level of stuff going on. They did actually declare that he died from positional asphyxia. But let's see what comes out in the forensics, in the wash, during trial. I'm not an attorney. This is just my opinion, okay? But I think these are the two things that are going to bring it to bear. There's just no getting around this. But what I really want to also point out is this. This is now this asphyxia story, right? Like what actually happens, we have to remember now this is a scenario that's given. It's just an online thing, but it's a scenario that's given in a room. If someone is trapped in a room, what happens if you're dying, if there's no oxygen and you're trapped in this room and the oxygen is diminishing? Okay, so what actually happens is that your oxygen is diminishing. It's doing a number of things to your brain, into your body, into your organs. You're in flight or flight mode. The blood is rushing to your extremities. There's a number of things going on, deprivation of oxygen. But at the same time, you're breathing out O2. And those levels, those interplay of levels in a trapped, enclosed space, is where the problem, where the death starts coming in. Where your death will come in, because now you're breathing in that CO2. You're breathing in poisonous gas, basically, because CO2 is a waste emission, from our bodies. So diminishing oxygen, breathing in poisonous gas. And this is a scenario that's given, okay? How long it'll take. There's a formula for how long it'll take. So it's all very science-based. There's no getting around it. But what really shocked me was, okay, this is your main character will feel pain, the person going through it, it'll happen quite quickly. How long it'll take to happen? Now, allegedly, he was in that suitcase for 11 hours. 11 hours. Because they started at 4. She only came down at 12, I think. But it started at 4. We're not sure when he went in the suitcase, but by the time they estimate 11 hours. But look at this. Look at this. This is now based in a trapped space. No, in a 1,000 cubic foot room, one person trapped going for oxygen. This is what they estimate is going to happen. Slight headache, hot and clammy, inability, fatigue, clumsiness. Remember that video where I said he was moving and his voice had raised and said, Sarah, all of that in an enclosed space, lack of oxygen, breathing in poisonous gas, your organs shutting down, It was very difficult for him to even do that. Hour 1, hour 2, hour 4, 5, 6, going up to 11, We're talking crazy, crazy town here. This is torture. Make no mistake. Don't gloss over the suitcase thing. This is what's actually happening to this guy, second by second, 12 hours, 2%. Breathing rate will be 50% faster. Headache, tiredness. Breathing doubles, 3%, oxygen going. Prolonged exposure, sluggishness, dangerous, permanent side effects. Okay, now they're giving a scenario of 30 hours. This will happen. Death in a 1,000 cubic foot room. Now check this out. I just Googled in general. Okay, I just researched in general what size a large suitcase is in cubic meters, right? Cubic foot. 4 cubic feet. This scenario was 1,000. So all of this is ramped up. All of this will be ramped up because he's stuck in that suitcase. I mean, this is the horror of what actually happened. When you look at where the forensics, that's where the story lies. That's where the forensics really represent the victim. The forensics is the mouthpiece of the victim. You must never ever forget that. Everything else is just opinion, conjecture. That's the evidence. Okay. So crazy, right? Now, onto the trial. She's been there since 2020 in jail. Her personality, I think, is also the character, the personality type of person she is, difficult to deal with. This is now the 6th attorney. I think it's 6th attorney. That's basically handed in his trying to get off this case. Basically, he just can't work with her. He cites, let me see what he says here. Irreconcilable differences. There's it, right here. Okay, irreconcilable differences. Can't do this case. Just trying to get off this case. She then sends a strongly worded email. Sorry, I'm not a member of Reddit. She sends a strongly worded email to the judge. There's been no visits, no calls from my attorneys. I'm not seeing them. What's going on? On my case, she uses all caps. I mean, she's obviously desperate now at this point, right? Okay, this is what I want to lead up to, because this, I think, is a point that no one is talking about. And this is, for me, is going to crack the case in terms of premeditation. Listen to what Granda has to say. He's great.
Sarah had been investigated 4 years earlier after posting an image of a child being zipped into a suitcase. Nothing came of that investigation, but it's strange that she was fascinated with people being in suitcases. Sarah was charged with second-degree murder. At the time making this video, Sarah Boone is awaiting trial. There have been a few delays.
Can you believe it? I mean, 4 years earlier, she posted a picture of a child in a suitcase. Why? So you can just clearly see the link. Clearly. For me, it's clear. Okay, so this is I think this is for me the main thing. This everyone should be focusing on this, and everyone should be talking. In addition to the forensics, the pattern, the history is one legal argument, but there is no ways the defense is going to get around this as well. It's just too much, Look, it's over for her. It's curtains, in my opinion. She's going to be convicted. She's going to go away for a long time, in my opinion. That's my prediction. Okay, it's just too much evidence against her, even with the battered spouse syndrome. And even the history actually does not bode well for her, because even if you remove the history of them beating up on each other and them torturing each other, she was unstable in general, in the community, fighting with other people and wanting to attack other people, driving over other people, and now posting a picture of a child in a suitcase, and then your husband dies in a suitcase, your partner, 4 years later. And in the interrogation, she claims that the suitcases were way back. The suitcases were completely dirty. It's like a mess, and she brings up CSI in the interrogation. She said even if CSI is to come and there's to find my suitcase, it's a complete mess. I'm tired of my kids' stuff lying around. It's at the back of the closet. I mean, it kind of like implying we never take it out. It's it's dusty or whatever. This tells a different story. The suitcase was being thought of 4 years ago. 4 years ago. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this trial. It is upcoming, and check out our playlist, because we're going to have different playlists. This is just going to fall under the crime and murder playlist, but we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. Please subscribe. Please help support the channel. It takes a lot of work to do this, and please write in the comments, subscribe, and then I can respond to you and we can have a direct conversation, because that would be really great. I want to hear your feedback. Do you think it's the right track, that media should be focusing on this element as well? Because no one's really talking about it. They're just talking about the suitcase, not really getting into what that actually means, being stuck in a suitcase for 11 hours. What does that actually mean? All of that's going to come out in the trial, So we'll keep you posted. We're going to be following up on this, definitely. Okay, see you on the next one. And yeah, please comment, please subscribe, please like, and please share.